And we want to talk about New York City. This Democratic Socialist character that kind of came out of nowhere won the Democratic primary, and it was basically a beatdown of epic proportions when you start to look at it, in the grand scheme of things within the Democratic Party. I want to share this with you guys. We're going to get into this, and then I want to hear what you guys have to say.
Democrats are trying to figure out how to navigate Zohran Mamdani's unexpected victory in New York City's mayoral Democratic primary. Does the party need to move further to the left? How do they capitalize on the enthusiasm he generated, even if they don't agree with his platform? The strategy for Republicans is pretty clear, though. Paint him as the standard and not an outlier of the party. The National Republican Congressional Committee posted a picture of Mamdani with 3 vulnerable New York Democrats, and they wrote this: "Every single Democrat now owns Mamdani's radical socialist agenda." Now, it's worth noting that none of these 3 Democrats actually endorsed Mamdani. In fact, Congresswoman Laura Gillen was not happy with the primary results. She wrote that he's too extreme and the absolute wrong choice. Joining us is former New York Congressman Jamal Bowman, who was with Mamdani last night. Jamal, it's a big moment for New York, but is it something that is actually able to be extrapolated beyond the city, which is in a pretty unique moment? He's an immigrant who's in a city facing anti-immigrant, policies from the federal government. There's an affordability crisis. There's a lot going on here.
Yes, he's the perfect person to respond in this moment to not just the crisis in the city as it relates to immigration affordability, but the fact that the Democratic Party is on life support right now with an approval rating of about 20-something%. So as we talk about bringing excitement back to politics and democracy, his campaign inspired New Yorkers across the city. Turnout was much higher this election than in 2021. Young people, first-time primary voters, made up 25% of the turnout, and he crushed a political dynasty in Andrew Cuomo. And so we should lean into that excitement, and we should do everything we can to learn from what he and this campaign did, which was exceptional, and see how it can be replicated in other parts of the country. Now, let me say this: New York is a special place. Incredible diversity of people, ideas, working class, etc. But when we talk about economic populism, he ran on affordability. Everyone's trying to afford to live. And so it's absolutely something that we should try to benefit from as a party and as a country.
We know about Bowman, right? We know all about that character. He is a piece of work. But as a New Yorker, up there, I guess my first question, I would assume that you're not a registered Democrat. That's just an assumption right there. So I would assume that you did not play a role in Mamdani getting an opportunity here. But what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on a large swath of people up there in New York City choosing Mamdani, who is a outright, in your face, blatant socialist? Brother, this dude's not trying to hide it. Right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that people in New York are not educated voters. They are trained to follow whoever their leaders or whoever they believe in, and they just follow they follow people by personality or for emotional reasons and whatever promises they're making. They don't care about what their character is, what their background is. They don't care about what socialism is, because they'll believe whatever they're told socialism is. Socialism, they won't. The real socialism they'll never see, they'll never understand, because they don't frequent places that will teach them the truth about what socialism is. So they're just emotional, non-critical thinking people. And from what I understand, it's from what statistics shows that the mostly white people voted them in. They say that the blacks didn't vote them in. But they say that a lot of young people voted him, and I don't remember anybody saying what the ethnic ratio of those young people were. So it's very difficult to. I'm not high on statistics as it is, because they're so skewed. But my point is that my concern is that we don't have enough people in New York. Probably not in a lot of our nation. We did have it because Trump got in. You look at how Trump got in, and somebody had to be doing their job to inform people about truth, to keep these riffraffers from stealing the election a second time. But that didn't happen in New York, because New York is a power base for these leftist socialists. So young people, because they're not critical thinkers, they'll go with the flow. And that's dangerous. It really is dangerous. I'm in Queens a lot of times. I listen to people where they talk. You can tell they don't have a clue about how to think critically about their politics. Some don't even realize how important politics is. I was just looking at one of our brochures. We don't have the ability to think critically. And I think that we don't have programs in the church, because most of the churches are given over to this mess. We don't have enough people who know the truth putting together programs to train the people in their community about what truth is. Now, the problem is this, and I'm going to conclude on this. Because we have lost our respect in our communities, and they have got the respect of the liars, when we speak truth to them, we look like monsters with two heads. And they don't want to hear what we have to say. So we have to build credibility by challenging these people. How about challenging these people to public conversations and sticking it to them? This is how it was done in days of old. You know, Christians debated atheists, Christians debated false cultists, and we nailed them in public arenas so well that the people didn't have to follow them. We don't have that going on today. All about these charismatic speakers are these nutcases out there. So my question is, when are we going to get together in our communities and form our own strong base and get out there in the media, not just being quiet behind closed doors, get out there in the media and challenge these people to public conversations? That's where the power is going to be at, and that's how we're going to destroy these people's philosophy.
You know, this man got his from the research I was doing. This man got his citizenship in 2018. So again, why do we keep picking people who do not like America? Because somehow or the other, we keep putting people in charge who have no love for America, don't understand America, don't care to understand America. They want to make America exactly wherever they remove themselves from when they came over here. This, from what from his previous, because I'm looking at some of the previous posts that he had, he wants to abolish NYPD. He wants to abolish prisons. He wants to ban 2A. He wants to end cash bail. He wants the government owned grocery stores.
That's right.
He wants to end all cooperation with ICE. He wants to end prisons and legalize
304. He wants to. He wants to.
You can
legalize
say 304 behavior.
304
304 behavior.
Yes. So he wants to do all that over there. And what I'm looking at, because one of my best friends, and every time I would speak to her, she's like, they're going on a holiday. And I'm like, what holiday is this? Why are you always on a holiday? And she was like, there's a lot of Muslim holidays. I said, since when did New York adopt so many Muslim holidays? Well, for some of the numbers, 58% from the numbers they showed, 58% of Asians voted for this man, along with 35% of white people voted for this man. And when they showed people that made over 50,000, and those that made over 100,000 were the ones that voted for this man. People that made under 50,000 did not vote for this man. What I'm looking at is that there are people that, what is that saying, Wise? Rules for me, rules for thee and not for me.
Rules for thee, not for me. Yeah.
Yes. I feel like this man is going to come in and these people that voted him, these rules will not affect them. It's going to really affect the people that think he's helping them, and he's not there to help them. Some of the things that he's promising, he's not going to be able to do. But he has nothing to do with it. So he's making wild promises, and he can't do it. What they're doing, they don't understand their civics. They don't understand these things. They don't. So I think Wise, you showed it or someone else showed it, that the number one thing that was Google yesterday, Google Trends, was what is socialism? They didn't even know what that was.
People don't even know what it is.
I told you.
Yeah.
You voted for something and you don't know what it is.
You don't even know what it is. It's crazy. But I want to share this clip. This is Mondani at the Breakfast Club the other day. I want you guys to hear what he had to say, and then I want to, Jason, you go first, and then Chris, you can go right after him and follow him once Jason raps. But I want you guys to hear this right here. Check this out.
I've proposed is that we raise $10 billion to pay for our entire economic agenda and start to Trump-proof our city, because we know he'll use federal funding as leverage over this city. And we will do so in two key ways. The first is to match the state's top corporate tax rate to that of New Jersey. We are at 7.25%. They're at 11.5%. Corporations can pay it over there. They can pay it over here. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't just apply to corporations headquartered in New York City. Because when you say this, people will say, well, they're going to go to Florida. Mm-hmm. Wherever you are headquartered, as long as you do business in the state of New York, you are taxable for that corporate tax. We're talking about corporations that are making millions of dollars, not in revenue, but in profit. And the second is taxing the top 1% of New Yorkers. We're talking about people who make $1 million a year or more, taxing them just by a flat 2% tax increase. And I know if 50 Cent is listening, he's not going to be happy about this. Mm-hmm. He tends to not like this tax policy, but I want to be very clear. This is about $20,000 a year. It's a rounding error. And all of these things together, they make every New Yorker's life better, including those who are actually getting taxed.
So he is proposing a second tax on the top 1%. They want to do 2%. And no matter where you are in the country, even if you're not headquartered in New York City, he wants to raise your corporate tax to 11.5%. How many companies are going to how many companies are going to just continue to do business in New York? If that is the case, how many of these companies are just going to say, you know what, we're not going to do anything in New York now. We're not doing anything there. So we're just pulling out. We're just pulling all the way out.
I think we've done ourselves a disservice because I know we're trying to really be concise when we say something like socialist or fascist or whatnot like that. Sadly, I don't think the word itself turns people off. And I think what your audience should do is look at some of the elements that make up the socialist agenda. For example, government-run grocery stores. And just ask questions. You do not, I say this all the time, you do not need to know all the answers. All you need to do is be able to ask really good questions.
That's right.
So if I was talking to Chris, if I was talking to Crystal, I say, hey, explain to me why the government should own Kroger. Can you show me somewhere where this has worked, where the government owned the grocery store and has thrived and prospered? I like to see that in real time. Can you show me that? And I think those kind of things, those kinds of questions, show me where they've actually completely abolished the police.
Critical
because
thinking.
You say defund the police, but that doesn't say that you don't need the police. Why are you saying not abolish police? Why are you saying defund them? So you want these men and women to be out here ill-prepared or ill-equipped to deal with people who are not defunded. You're not defunding the thugs. You're not defunding the ne'er-do-wells, but you're defunding the police. So how does that actually work? What will that look like? And people need to start asking really good questions. You do not need to know all the answers.
Critical thinking.
Just ask great questions. And you might not know if this is a great question. I'll help you out with that as well. Take the concept that they're proposing, doing away with the second with the 2A. Okay, can you explain to me how that will look? What would that look like? So you're looking at buybacks and home raids and all that kind of stuff like that. Got you. So who would actually have guns? So who would actually still own weapons?
Criminals.
Right. Say it with me, boys and girls. Criminals.
Criminals.
That's right. Because the only people that are going to follow that law are going to be law-abiding citizens.
That's right.
Because I'm not a criminal.
That's right.
So therefore, the only people that are going to have these things are going to be criminals.
Critical
so
thinking.
Let me make sure I have that right. How does that work? And ask questions, because Denzel was correct. A lot of these people have not been challenged in their ideas and their thoughts. This is very much akin. When you were a kid, you had some really crazy ideas. And you're like, man, I could do this. And you jumped off the roof. You rode the bike with you drove down the road with the lights off. You did something really dumb. And you really hadn't thought about it. But if somebody had challenged you and said, hey, you do realize that there's this thing called gravity. And you do realize that your bones can only take so much pressure before they break. You probably wouldn't have done that, right? If somebody had been there to help you out and help you think through that. This is what we are doing. We're helping somebody standing on the pinnacle of their garage about to jump off and helping them to think through what's going to be the ramifications if they don't land properly or whatever it is. Because these are people that have not thought about what they're talking about. It just sounds good. It sounds cool.
You're absolutely right. And to answer one of the questions, I think, Krista, you said, how is it that we keep electing these people who are brand new immigrants who clearly hate the America that we love? I think part of it goes back to, well, we have allowed the teachers union and the government funded schools to basically become indoctrination centers for I hate America.
That's right.
And for whatever your pet reason is, because it's different based on whether you're in the South or in the North. I mean, it goes back to the 1619 Project. It goes back to a lot of this. The founders were corrupt. The founders were nothing more than slave owners. Yeah, lots of people were slave owners back then. It does not reduce the moral degradation that slavery was, but it was an accepted practice back then. But that does not make the founders, it does not make what they founded, holy or completely evil. America is a fantastic place with all of its flaws. Right. So one of the reasons is because that we keep electing these people is because we have a government indoctrination school system that teaches people to hate America. But the other thing that I think this represents, and I think it represents two very big problems. One,
And media.
Yeah, and the media. I think this represents two very big potential problems. One is the death of the Democrat Party as we know it. What it looks like to me is that the Democrats, in that ever since Trump's election, they have been leaderless, rudderless. Now they're penniless. When you watch reports of the DNC begging for money, their donors have abandoned them. And frankly, their biggest donor has been ripped away. And that was taxpayer laundered money.
That's
from
right.
USAID and
From
other
USAID.
programs.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tens of billions of dollars
That's right.
that was taken from taxpayers, laundered through NGOs, through daisy
back to them.
chained NGOs, back into government coffers or back
Yep.
into Democrat coffers in the form of campaign contributions,
Yep.
tax, everything. So they've
Yep.
lost their giant source of funding. So that's one problem. I think it represents the death of the Democrat Party as we know it, which I think would be a good thing, except that it has now been ceded to the ultra left. It has been ceded to straight up in your face communists. That's what Zoran Mandami is. He is an unabashed Islamist communist.
That's right.
He is, I mean, he literally did campaign stops and commercials in Arabic. And I'm not, and he might have done them in Indian as well, but I mean, I distinctly heard Arabic in a couple of them. He's literally talking a foreign language while doing campaign stops. It's utterly ridiculous. And I think the other thing that what it looks like, and Greg Foreman, was talking about this, and I think he's absolutely right. They may have found a winning formula for winning Democrat primaries. Now, whether this will let them win the general election, I don't know. But it's Trump derangement and free stuff.
That's right.
When you boil down his message, he ran on Trump derangement and free stuff.
That's
We're
right.
gonna proof our city. No way these criminal illegals are going anywhere. We want them here. Oh, and I'll give you free grocery stores and
Free bus.
free MTAs and free buses and free this and free that, none of which we can afford, by the way. And when he implements his economic policy, it is going to become like Seattle, even worse, like San Francisco, even worse, because the real estate, when you implement price controls for rent, two things happen. Either you lose supply because people just get out of it altogether, they turn them into condos, they sell them, or the quality goes down. You end up with slums because nobody reinvests. So you will end up with a giant city of slums. And when he implements all of his tax policy, what's going to happen? The corporations and the rich are going to flee. They're going to walk away. And then when you lose that tax base, this was on CNN. They had a Democrat, I think it was a union boss, who was ripping Abby a new one because he literally said, this is what's going to happen. The corporations are going to leave. The rich people are going to leave. We're going to lose that tax base. Then our corporate bonds are going to collapse because we won't have the economic undergirdment to allow us to even borrow money. This whole thing is going to
Critical
become
thinking.
financial
Critical thinking.
tidal wave.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That was powerful, man. Y'all make sure y'all hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. Make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe this. As always, keep God first. Stay prayed up. It is crazy out here in these streets, man. And we'll catch up with you all next time, man.